Hello and welcome to this episode of CareersLab, which focuses on your questions, which makes it my favourite kind. And in fact, we've received so many questions recently, I've decided to devote the next 3 episodes to answering as many of those as I can. And so without further ado, let's have a look at the first question, which comes in from Gulsana. Gulsana asks, how do I balance academic studies during my Masters while making job and PhD applications? It's a really good question, Gulsana, and I have some thoughts that might just help. And the first of those is to schedule your applications. Whether on Excel or a big wall chart, it won't only give you a visual reminder of where you're at, but also helps you build smaller steps into the process. So, say for PhD applications, speaking to the PI or members of the research group by a certain date, or doing a super micro literature review around the research area of the PhD you're applying to, resulting in you keeping the focus on the quality of those written applications, Gulsana, rather than falling into the quantity trap, which is really easy to do when you don't have a lot of time. And I promise you that one really well written application is worth maybe 30 reasonably written applications when it comes to conversion rates for an interview. Also, breaking down the application process into those small stages, Gulsana, perhaps means you can better use those little pockets of time we sometimes have during the day. There's another way too, Gulsana, and stick with me here. It relates to paying very close attention to how you feel. Often we can feel anxious if we're not spending enough time in our lives focusing on specific things. And so you can try an experiment, right, Gulsana? Maybe start by allocating 2 15-minute segments during each day where you're focusing exclusively on writing good applications and see if that's sufficient in quietening and satisfying the mind. And if it's not, you adjust those time segments until you do find that sense of peace. So between the practical and the emotional routes described here, Gulsana, I really hope you have ways and methods forward to find a good balance between applications for jobs and PhDs and finishing up your master's project. Thank you so much for sending in this question. I really appreciate it, along with the really lovely message you also included in that correspondence. Thank you, and I wish you the absolute best of luck. Question 2 comes in from Rafiq, and he asks, is it possible to negotiate a salary for a graduate role? Rafiq, yes. Often there can be so many emotions around getting that first graduate job offer that we can forget, or that we somehow might feel it's improper or that we're being ungrateful. But not only is it possible, Rafiq, yes, in a pandemic, there's a really good reason why I recommend you typically should ask for flexibility on pay for graduate roles for a reason I'm going to get to. But let me first say, Rafiq, that asking doesn't mean you'll necessarily get what you're asking for. But if you do ask in the right way, there's a lot of upside risk without much downside risk at all. But both how and when you ask is really critical. I recommend phrasing it along the lines of, might there be any flexibility on pay at the point when contracts are being drawn up and offered to you, and definitely no earlier. Keeping that ask nice, short and polite. And remember, Rafiq, if you expect to be turned down, you can only be positively surprised. It's really good to view salary negotiation as a skill to be developed over time throughout your career, and that's why I recommend generally asking pretty much from your first role, because then you start to develop that skill through practicing, and by asking, you quickly realise that nothing bad is going to happen if you do ask. Now, different sectors will have different levels of discretion around flexibility on pay, Rafiq, but it's really never a problem to ask as long as you do it in the right way, like I've described. Really, really great question, Rafiq, and thank you so much for sending it in. Now to our final question for this episode. It comes in from Elena, and she asks, what kind of support do 2020 graduates still get from UCL Careers? Elena, I really appreciate this question. As a 2020 graduate, you get full access to everything UCL Careers Team of 60 offers for a full 3 years, including Careers one-to-one appointments to help support you absolutely whatever your situation is, with zero judgment and maximum friendliness and understanding, informed by staff across lots of different sectors and geographies before moving to UCL Careers, because we all love to help people. And that's before I even mention one-to-one applications appointments with our ultra-experienced team of recruitment and selection advisors, ensuring your applications, CVs, cover letters fully reflect your quality, to 1 hour, one-to-one bespoke interview coaching for any role you have coming up, a fully curated and moderated jobs board filled with hundreds and often thousands of vacancies we think might fit you, to all of our careers events where you can network with employers, UCL alumni and other 2020 grads and students across our themed week programs, to our summer jobs market featuring employers with immediate vacancies. And that, Elena, maybe gets us to around half of what UCL Careers can offer. Now let's be frank, there are easier graduating years to have belonged to than 2020. And that's why UCL Careers is super extra motivated to help specifically your cohort. And please know you can lean on us as a service. We love to help. Okay, so that brings to an end this Q&A episode with particularly thoughtful questions coming in from Gulsana, Rafiq and Elena. Now if you're tempted to ask your own questions which you'd like featured in a future episode, then please email in to careers.marketing@ucl.ac.uk, and please know you can ask any careers question to our very talented team at UCL Careers. So if you're a UCL student, go ahead and click on the link in the description box below to make your own appointment to satisfy your careers curiosity. That's it from me for this week. We'll see you next time.